Good evening. Welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include the Lions Center is undergoing renovations, the Odd Job Squad held a car wash this past week, the Anglican Church Fair is coming up, a study of clams in our area is nearing completion, and more, so please stay tuned.
Just the thought of losing you brings out my love so true. Hurting you is the last thing I would ever do. I'm taking care of you.
Do a good turn for the earth. A community service thought from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The exterior portion of the Lions Community Center is getting a facelift. I spoke to Lions past president Ernest Green to find out more about the renovations being done.
Well, first we started for a Section 25 grant, and we were lucky enough to get it 4 workers for 6 weeks, just the labour, like all the materials that we're buying. That's all going to come into Lions Club funds. And what we're planning on do is remove all the old siding and replace it with shingles, cedar shingles, and paint them, and replace a new bridge on the back here, and replace the door, one door that was getting bad, so we've got that replaced. And I think that's about pretty well it for this year anyways.
Okay, you said it was a Section 25 grant. What exactly is a Section 25?
A Section 25 grant, just my knowledge, is just a top up for people that's drawing unemployment. To other people that wouldn't draw unemployment, they could use to apply for this project.
Okay. So were any of the windows in the building replaced, or just one door?
No, just one door and the bridge and the siding. The windows are not in bad shape or nothing. Like, well, we haven't got no plans to change any windows on Mr. Ron, but right now they're not.
Okay, so are you going to do the complete building?
I don't know if we're going to do the far side on this side here, because we did that a few years back with the pump extension on the kitchen. So I would say it would be just the 2 ends and the big side in front.
How much is this expected to cost the Lions Club?
I would say it's going to cost anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000. It's going to be in that ballpark anyway, probably a little bit more. I don't think it'll be any less anyways.
Okay, Aaron, thanks for your time, Justin.
You're welcome.
The unemployed students held a car wash on Tuesday of this past week to raise money to help further their education. 46 vehicles were washed at the town office parking lot by student placement worker Michelle Ball and 5 members of the Odd Job Squad. A total of $235.50 was raised from the car wash, which amounts to $47.10 per each of the 5 students. A study of clams in Big Barrisway, Little Barrisway, and Injinahole is nearing completion. The Burgeo Diversification Development Committee, through funding from the Canadian Centre of Fisheries Innovation and Memorial University, have hired Susan Han, a master's level student studying marine biology, and 2 students, Roderick Hilliard and Perry Billard, to conduct a survey of soft shell clams in our area. Owen Marsden, chairman of the BDDC, along with Milton Batcher and myself, caught up with the crew on Tuesday.
Sometimes you'll end up breaking a clam or 2. Hopefully not too many.
Not a very fine tool.
Got one here?
Two
Yeah,
here.
a few more? Okay. Okay. And you see, like they're fairly big. I mean,
These are, yeah.
compared to some of the other ones we found. In Big Barrisway, a lot of the areas have smaller size clams.
Say somewhere.
There's a
Oh, yeah.
size clam there.
They look good.
Kind of thicker
Here's
too.
another one. Look.
Heavier. little macomas, 3 of them.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's a month size. We'll take those 2 and take separate measurements on those.
Oh, yeah. That's
It's another Maya. Yeah, smaller size. There's still not a big change though in number. 5 or 6, not too much variation.
When you went, and the place where you got the 100, are they all small, or would it be big?
There's
big
some really
ones?
big ones in there.
Yeah?
There's a range of sizes. Usually when you get a really high number, you may get a lot of smaller ones in there. So, if you get 25
Susan, along with the 2 students hired, are digging test holes along a transit to determine the number of clams in the area. The length of these clams will also be measured. Then the clams will be taken back to St. John's, where further studies will be done to determine the age of the clams and other factors.
Yeah, there's quite a few worms in living in sands too. There's 2 different kinds of them actually. You probably see them making those little piles in the sand. There's a few species around.
As you drive by the town office, you will notice that there are no flags flying on the town's flagpole. Sometime Wednesday night, the Newfoundland flag and the Burgeo flag were stolen off the town's flagpole. In the past 3 years, approximately 20 flags have been stolen from the town. The lines were moved further up the pole in an effort to prevent further thefts of flags, but it was to no avail. Stay tuned for more of This Week in Review coming up after this.
They're not hip or modern, fancy or fashionable. They no longer fit your prescription or your style. But for one person living in a developing country, these used eyeglasses will put the world in focus, maybe for the very first time. Don't throw away someone's chance for a clearer tomorrow. Donate your used eyeglasses.
We have Reverend Canning with us now for an Anglican Church update.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It seems that it's only yesterday that I sat here and talked to you about the things that have been happening at St. John the Evangelist Church. But 2 weeks have passed and much have happened since then. In my last appearance, I came to announce to you a sod and soil campaign that we had restarted again this year. And at that time, I outlined for you some of the future plans for the church property. Since that appearance, I can safely say that people of the parish must have agreed with our plans, because many of you have brought in your donations. And we would like to take this opportunity to thank you for having done that. However, there are many more that I'm sure would like to make their contributions, and we realize that some of you are away on vacation and that you're not able to do that at this particular time. However, we look forward to when you do come back and you can do that, because it is only with your support that we can endeavor to continue the development of the church property. However, this is not my purpose for being here today. I just thought I'd remind you of that campaign, and really not to harp on it, but just to sort of bring it up to your mind again. But today I'd like to take this opportunity to fill you in on some of the things that have been happening around the church since we last sat here. Some of you may have already noticed that there's much activity happening around the rectory these days. Our 2 Challenge 94 students have been very busy cleaning up the property. They have pulled up the weeds and moved some of the rocks, and nowadays they're spreading fill so that we can make some of the areas a little more even. And we're hoping that next summer, we'll be able to mow that area just the same as we do with the rest of the lawn. We feel it should be an area that you as the parishioner should be very proud to boast about. After all, it is your property. In the church, we're having a real excellent turnout for both the morning and the evening services. It is very refreshing for somebody like me to be able to come in and see the Spirit of God working so alive these days. Every time that I enter the church, I feel a real sense of worship and a real sense of God. It feels good to be a part of it. Last Sunday in the church, we had 3 new members join us. Bridget, Paula, Sylvia Green, Jordan Patrick Sims, and Alexis Annalisa Spencer. All 3 were baptized, and we welcome them, and we congratulate their parents. But on a more sadder note, we had 2 members depart from our congregation since I last came to you. Radine Rhonda Coley and Susanna Rose went to be with the Lord. We offer our sincere condolences and our prayers to both the Coley and the Rose families. May the souls of the departed rest in peace, and let light perpetual shine upon them. On behalf of Reverend Charles and myself, we would like to take this opportunity to inform you of some of the other things that are happening this summer. And today on Hunts Island, we'll be having our first annual flower service. That'll take place at 1:30 this afternoon, weather permitting. And the next, we anticipate that on either the Sunday of the 7th of August or the 14th or the 28th, it depends on the weather, we'll have another flower service. Last Sunday we published in our bulletin a suggestion for it to be held on the front steps of the church. And since we've had no objections to that, we will endeavor to follow through on that plan. After the service is completed, the people will disperse to the various cemeteries for the laying of flowers. We really do look forward to seeing you at one or perhaps both of these services. Also today, I'd like to inform you of another service that will take place this coming Monday at 2 p.m. on the Government Wharf. The Newfoundland and Labrador TB and Lung Association is launching an awareness campaign to celebrate their 50th anniversary. And they've asked us here in Burgeo if we'd become a part of that plan. Many of you may remember the MV Christmas seal that came into all of the ports around Newfoundland and took x-rays of those people who were probably suffering from tuberculosis. In 1976, the Christmas seal sank, and on Monday we will use Clarence Hand's boat, the Misty Michelle, to symbolize a refloating of the spirit of that boat. We will have in attendance at that time as many individuals as we can muster up. We've invited the cadets and the various boys and girls clubs to be in uniform and to be in attendance. Also, we would like all choir members from both denominations to be at the service, if they can possibly be there, and to be in their gowns. There will be personal testimony from one individual who suffered from TB, and she'll tell us a little bit about what it was like to have been in the sand at that time, and she'll also bring us up to date on her feelings on what the TB Association has done for her and for many like her. There will also be a personal testimony from somebody who is suffering from asthma. As you know, there are many of these chronic chest disorders, and there are many people in this community that suffer from these disorders. Right now, the emphasis seems not to be so much on TB as it is on people who are suffering from these chronic chest disorders. And the Newfoundland and TB and Lung Association would like to sort of put some emphasis on finding a cure for these. Now that they've been successful in finding a cure for the TB, they'd like to place their emphasis on finding a cure for those other people that are suffering. Please try and make an effort to be there and to bring along small donation that we can collect and send to this association for the invaluable service that they have given us over the years. This week in our office we've been very busy preparing another service, one that will be held on August the 3rd. That will be the official opening of the hospital, and it will take place at 10:30 in the morning. And we've been asked, as part of the planning group, to put together a service for that particular event. And we look forward to seeing you there to help us celebrate that. And on the very same day that the hospital will be open, in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, we will also open our parish fair. Some of the events for that parish fair have already taken place. On Wednesday, the Lioness ran a TV bingo, and the proceeds from that have been donated to the committee. And on this coming Wednesday, the 27th, there will be a card game held at the parish hall. And following that, there will be a soup and sandwiches served. We ask that you please show your support in being in attendance. Try to be there and bring a friend along with you. This committee have been working extremely hard, putting together all of the details for this parish fair. It promises to be one of the most eventful events for the whole summer. Some of you have already been approached and asked for a donation, and you've offered us your kind assistance in any way that you could. And we'd like to take this moment just to say a very special thank you to those of you who have already given. But if you haven't already given, and you would like to do that, would you like to make a contribution of some sort, whether it is in craft items or baked items, or even in helping the committee put together something, whatever your contribution might be, then we'd ask you to, by all means, contact Linda Pink or one of our committee members, and they'll be delighted to make some kind of suggestion for you. I understand that the last time this event was held, there were many people who had donations of knitted goods or baked goods that didn't necessarily get picked up. Please don't let this happen this year. If you have any kind of a gift at all, let us know, and if you can't deliver it, we'll see to it that it gets picked up. We thank you for being with us this evening and for being in attendance and listening to some of the events that have been happening at St. John the Evangelist and for some of the events that are coming up. And we look forward to keeping you informed in the best possible way. In the fall, the church does plan to restart its trumpet, its monthly newsletter. But for now, while we're waiting to get that started, we'll keep you updated in the way that we possibly can, either through our bulletins or through this local media program. Thank you very much. God bless. Have a nice evening.
This week, as we look back and remember when, we're going to take you back to December of 1986 for a look at the kindergarten class of that year performing in the A.J. Matthews School annual Christmas concert. Well, that's it for tonight's show. Please stay tuned now for the Newfie Night Bandwagon that was taped in March of 1993. On behalf of all of us here at BBS and the BBS volunteers, have a great week. I'm Dave Cooper. Good night.